Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I am going to talk about the heart. And before I get started, I want to share a story with you. A few years ago, I had the idea of creating a women's group in the community in which I lived. And it was a group of women that consisted of Muslim women and Christian women. And we spent time together eating, and sometimes we would teach each other how to do things. Like one woman was very gifted at making pastries, and she taught us how to make a pastry. Another woman worked with essential oils, and we had a gathering at my home where we made essential oil rollers to apply the essential oil on our bodies. And we all shared the common love for food. So we would have American food and we'd have Syrian food because some of the women were Syrian refugees, and all different types of food. And I always so enjoyed these gatherings with women from all over the world and from different backgrounds, different faiths. Well, the very first time we met in the home of my beautiful friend, and she was originally Palestinian, but spent a lot of her years in Jordan, and she was at the time living in the United States. She hosted our first gathering, and so we had a big, beautiful lunch, and then we sat down in her living room, sat around. Some of the women sat on the floor, some on the couch, some on chairs, and we wanted to ask each other questions as Christian women and Muslim women. And the first question that our beautiful Muslim friends asked us was, why don't you wear the hijab? Maryam, Jesus's mother, wore a head covering, most likely. So why don't you cover your heads? That was a very thought-provoking question. And what came to my mind almost immediately was a verse that is from the Injil. So I would love to share that with you now. And it is what I shared with these women, with our friends. So this verse is from Matthew chapter 15 from the Injil. Jesus was questioned by the experts in the law and the religious leaders. Why don't your disciples, your followers, wash their hands before they eat? Don't they know that they're breaking the law? Because it was the tradition of the elders that hands should be washed before eating. And then Jesus goes on to call them hypocrites in the ways that they themselves broke the law, in things dealing with the honoring of their parents, the honoring of their mother and father. And then Jesus quoted a passage from the prophet Isaiah when he said to the crowds, "This people honors me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me, and they worship me in vain, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men." And then Jesus went on to say this, and this is what I shared with my friends in that living room that day. Jesus said, "Listen and understand. What defiles a person is not what goes into his or her mouth, but it is what comes out of the mouth that defiles a person." And then Peter said, "Jesus, explain this parable to us." So Jesus said, "Don't you understand that whatever enters a person goes in through the mouth and passes and goes out of the body? But the things that come out of the mouth reveal what is in the heart." So Jesus went on to say, these are the things that defile a person: evil ideas, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false testimony, slander. These are the things that defile a person, not eating with unwashed hands. And so I said to my friends, I guess Christians wear the hijab on their hearts, and taking good care of our hearts before God, because the words that come out of our mouths and our behavior reveals what is already in our hearts. So we can do all the things, we can look squeaky clean, but our hearts can still be dark and evil. And what Jesus is getting at is it's not so much about the external outward things that you do in the traditions, but it's about your heart. So if we have hearts that long to honor God, then we'll be careful about what we wear, and we'll be careful about the things we put into our bodies. We'll be careful about the shows and the things that we allow our eyes to see and our ears to hear. We'll be careful about what we allow our tongues to speak. One comes after the other. So first the heart is right, and then good things come out. But I feel like for some, they reverse the order, thinking that they have to have everything perfect without first addressing the heart. So that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me today. Ma'asalama. Goodbye. And until next time, peace.